Ukraine not to cross certain red lines in territory exchange with Russia. Zelensky reports Russia's new worst yet Russian night attack, and how Ukrainians' Flamingo missile reaches 3,000 kilometers range. The latest news next. Last night, Russia set one of its insane anti-records by attacking hundreds of targets in Ukraine. More than 570 strike drones and dozens of cruise missiles were used, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy.
Last night, the Russian army set one of its insane anti-records. They targeted civilian infrastructure facilities, residential buildings, and our people.
The president noted that the Russians used several cruise missiles against an American enterprise in Zakarpattia. According to him, it was an ordinary civilian enterprise and American investment.
It was a regular civilian business supported by American investment, producing everyday items like coffee machines. And yet it was also a target for the Russians. This is very telling. The fire at the facility is still being extinguished. As of now, 15 people have been reported injured in the strike. All have received the necessary assistance.
Zelensky noted that rescuers are working in many other regions from Zaporizhia to Volyn. In total, Russia struck Ukraine during the night with 574 strike drones, 40 missiles. A significant portion was intercepted, but unfortunately not all, he says. At the same time, the Ukrainian president emphasized that this time the Russians struck as if nothing had changed at all.
And the Russians carried out this attack as if nothing has changed at all, as if there are no global efforts to stop this war. This requires a response. There is still no signal from Moscow that they truly intend to engage in substantive negotiations and end this war. Pressure is needed. Strong sanctions, strong tariffs. I thank everyone who is helping.
Ukraine is not ready to cross a number of red lines regarding a potential territory exchange with Russia and believes that it could take the enemy another 4 years to fully capture the Donbas. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says during a meeting with journalists, reports an RBC Ukraine correspondent. Donetsk region. According to Zelenskyy, before discussing what Ukraine is willing to do, it is necessary to understand what Moscow is prepared for. For example, regarding the Donetsk region, he explained during a meeting with US President Donald Trump that since February 2022, Russia has not captured 69%, but roughly one-third of the territory.
Currently, they, Russia, hold about 67 to 69% in total. That is, in almost 4 years of full-scale war, they have occupied one-third of the Donetsk region. So claims that they will occupy all of our Donbas by the end of the year are just talk. To occupy our Donbas, they would need another 4 years.
Zelenskyy also cited a personal family example. His grandfather fought against Nazi Germany for Slavyansk, Kramatorsk and Mariupol. Many families have similar stories, making this a deeply painful issue in Ukrainians' history and the lives of Ukrainians. It's not as simple as some might think, the Ukrainian president emphasized. Other front lines. Regarding the Sumy region, Zelenskyy is confident that the Russians will not capture it.
And frankly, they won't be able to hold the border areas where they are now. In today's realities, it's only a matter of time, just a few months, and they won't be in the Sumy region.
Zelenskyy also believes that in the future, the Russians will not capture the Kharkiv region, and to talk about the Mykolaiv region, that they are ready to give us the convert speed. They only need it to block the sea against us, the Ukrainian president added. Zelenskyy once again stressed that Ukraine legally does not recognize the occupation of any temporarily occupied territories. That is my position, the Ukrainian leader concluded. The long-range cruise missile Flamingo has become a major success of Ukrainians' missile program. Very soon it will go into mass production, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said at a meeting with the journalists on August 20th. The Flamingo missile has already undergone testing, and so far this is the most successful missile we have. It flies 3,000 kilometers. This is important, the president noted. He emphasized that it is too early to disclose details about Flamingo until there is a possibility to use them by the hundreds.
By December, we will have more of them. And by the end of December or in January, February, mass production should begin. We need to look at success in testing. We need to look at the funding of this program.
About the Flamingo missile, last week the first photo of the Ukrainian cruise missile Flamingo appeared online. It also became known that it went into serial production. The Ukrainian defense resource Defense Express believes that it is highly likely an analog or a full copy of the FP5 cruise missile. The model was presented by Millennium Group at the IDEX 2025 exhibition in the UAE back in early February 2025.
At that time, the main characteristics were named: range, 3,000 kilometers; maximum speed, 950 kilometers per hour; wingspan, 6 meters; maximum weight, 6 tons; warhead weight, 1 ton.
Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal said this is a very powerful weapon, and he promised to tell more when the moment comes. In June, Zelensky spoke about active preparations for the mass production of subsonic ballistic missiles. Earlier, the advisor on strategic industries, Alexander Commission, stated that Ukraine had already launched serial production of its ballistic missiles. And the former Minister of Strategic Industries, Herman Smetanian, confirmed that such missiles are used at least once a month, as are the so-called long Neptunes. For the first time, Zelensky announced the creation of a Ukrainian ballistic missile in October 2024. At that time, it had already successfully passed flight tests. Ukrainians' strikes on oil refineries have disabled part of Russia's refining capacity. The market is facing an acute shortage of gasoline, according to the Financial Times. Record prices and fuel shortages. Wholesale gasoline prices in Russia have reached record highs. On August 20th, a ton of A95 gasoline on the exchange cost 55% more than at the beginning of the year and 8% more than at the beginning of August. The market is experiencing fuel shortages in many regions due to Ukrainian drone strikes on oil refineries. The crisis has forced Moscow to suspend gasoline exports to keep refined products on the domestic market. However, this measure has failed to curb price increases and exacerbate the shortage. Strikes on refineries and infrastructure. Since the beginning of July, Ukraine has struck at least 4 large refineries in Russia. According to experts, the current campaign differs from previous ones in that the strikes are targeting enterprises in a key region, which could put them out of operation for a long time or even forever. Sergei Vakulenko, a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, said that in 2024, the attacks had been numerous but scattered, usually limited to a single plant, and that the damage had been quickly repaired. Domestic market under pressure. According to broker Finam, at least 10% of Russia's refining capacity has been knocked out. Strikes on railway infrastructure in the central part of the country have been exacerbated the situation, causing train delays and fuel supply disruptions. To curb price increases, the Russian government completely banned gasoline exports on July 28. But even this did not help to fully satisfy domestic demand. Price increases and shortages in the regions. Retail gasoline prices in Russia have risen by 9% over the year and by more than 5% since January. Some regions are experiencing the most severe shortages, especially those far from the center of the country. A Chita resident expressed indignation in a local chat room, asking what the gasoline madness was and whether they had suddenly become wealthy. In Transbaikalia and annexed Crimea, local authorities acknowledged shortages of A95 gasoline. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.